Welcome to What Really Matters podcast, Everyday Spirituality with Karen Wyatt. I want to thank you for joining me here again today for another episode. I'm going to be sharing with you in a few minutes something rather simple. This is a 5-step reset ritual, I call it, that can be used during times of distress or time when you feel yourself spiraling out of control. I wanted to share it with you as a tool that can be used anytime, anywhere, and that might be helpful during the times that we're experiencing right now. And before I get to that tool, I have a couple of things I wanted to let you know that on my End of Life University podcast today, I am talking about pandemics, the post-pandemic situation that we're in our country right now, the rise of death doulas and AI, and how hopefully we can all come together and work through some of the collective grief that we're experiencing. And so I'll be talking about that on the End of Life University podcast. Also, I wrote a Substack article about it on my Substack page as well. So if you'd rather read the Substack than listen to End of Life University, that's fine. But becoming aware of the fact that some of what's happening in our society right now is probably post-pandemic. We're in a transition phase after the COVID-19 pandemic, trying to come out of it. And perhaps we have not recognized the depths of grief that we're struggling with and suffering with. And I think all of us right now are experiencing a bit of that, the grief itself, but also distress. And so that's why I wanted to add this podcast with a tool that we can use during this particular time. I'm jumping ahead of myself because I also have a quick little comment I wanted to make about a listener question that came in about a previous episode when I talked about having an outer purpose and an inner purpose. And the person was wondering, what does the inner purpose serve and how does it help us in our lives? So I thought I might give you just a little example from my own personal life in order to talk about that. And I did mention the outer purpose is our career, our goals, that we set for ourselves in this life, what we're trying to accomplish, what we want to do in the physical material world. And our inner purpose is a little more vague and nuanced for us, but it has to do with our souls, really. It has to do with our consciousness and what we may need to learn in order to grow to become our fullest, highest selves. And for me, this all happened back when I was 16 years old and a classmate died. And I attended her funeral, and the priest who led her funeral said that she was a young person, the only young person he knew who had actually really lived her purpose at the age of 16, and that she didn't die with an unfulfilled life. She had actually fulfilled her life. And that statement really shocked me. First of all, I was shocked that someone my own age, 16, could die because I hadn't really contemplated that before. But also the idea that she may have fulfilled her purpose in just those brief 16 years. At that age, I already knew that I wanted to be a doctor. I knew that that was somehow my destiny, something that I was meant to do. But I began to contemplate this thought that what if I, like my classmate, died young? What if I died before I had a chance to go to medical school or to become a doctor? What if I could not fulfill that destiny, fulfill that purpose that I came here for, that I thought I was here to do? It sent me into a bit of a panic mode because I was trying to understand this. Like, if my purpose is something I'm going to become and I'm going to do in the future, how do I have any guarantee that I will be able to actually accomplish it? And then won't I die with a failed life if I have not fulfilled my purpose? I thought about this for a few days, and it actually caused me a lot of distress because I needed an answer for it. Like, how how can we have a purpose that is something in the future that we're meant to do and feel comfortable that we can actually accomplish it when death can come for us at any time? It felt very confusing to me. And then one day in the middle of the afternoon, I fell asleep on the recliner in our living room, and I must have had some sort of dream because I woke up with like a start. I actually woke up and I jumped up out of the recliner, and the word that was in my head and on my lips was love. And in that moment, I had this epiphany that my actual purpose that I needed to fulfill in this life was love. I needed to learn everything I could possibly learn about love, how to give and receive love. One thing I didn't know at that time, and that it took me most of my life so far to learn, is that I actually needed to learn how to love myself. That was really the basis of that inner purpose. But all I knew at that time was that love is what I was here for. And so I realized love is a purpose I could potentially fulfill, learning about love no matter when I die, no matter what age I am when I die. And so that satisfied me. That brought me great solace because I realized if my actual inner purpose is to learn about love, I'm going to be doing that every single day. And I can fulfill that purpose and work on it now, no matter how many years I'm alive. And medicine will become part of how I fulfill my purpose to learn about love. But it's not the whole thing. There are many other ways I will learn about love. So whether or not I ever get to be a doctor, it doesn't matter. It's okay. I will still fulfill my purpose for love. And so at such a young age, at 16, it was rather profound to be thinking this way. But in fact, it made such a difference to me throughout life, ongoing. Every decision that I made, I always paused and stopped to think, wait, does this serve my inner purpose of learning about love? How can I learn about love in this situation or dealing with this problem or this issue? And love became my guiding factor, kind of my guidepost. As I made choices, as I considered how to work out my life, I did end up going on to medical school and becoming a doctor, as you probably know. But love was always the driving force behind everything, and having an opportunity to learn about love or to experience more love or deeper love or to bring more love into the world. So that is how having an inner purpose and knowing what my inner purpose was really changed everything. And it actually made my outer purpose of being a doctor much more fulfilling for me because there was something far more to it than what medicine itself was teaching me, what I was learning through medicine. I was at the same time carrying on my own curriculum of love and learning how to love more thoroughly, how to love in a way that can help heal people. So it's important to note here, I'm not suggesting that love is everyone's inner purpose. That's something each one of us has to find out for ourselves. And that may be a path. It came rather quickly to me, but it may take years before you fully understand what it is that your soul is really here to learn about and to work on. And sometimes it involves the challenges that you faced. The things that have been most difficult for you are where the deepest lessons are for you to learn. And so the first step is just being aware that there is an inner driver of your life, an inner purpose that will reveal itself sooner or later or whenever you're ready for it, when the timing is right. And as long as you're aware of that and you're watching and listening, I think you will get clues and you will begin to see it and become aware of what is the one thing you could sum up that is the most important thing that you're here to learn about and to also bring to the world. So that's how I think of the inner purpose. I'm sorry if I may not have described it so fully in the previous episode when I talked about it. And probably we'll talk about it more in another episode, but I wanted to answer that question right now since it just came up. And also since the rest of this episode will be a little bit briefer today. So I will move on into my little 5-step reset ritual that I wanted to describe for you. And as I say, there are 5 steps to this, but each step on its own stands as something you can do that can be soothing or can help reset your nervous system. But when you combine all 5 of them into this simple little bundle, it can be really powerful. And so let's talk about, why we need this is because, again, there's just so much stress all around us everywhere we go. I'm just finding tension everywhere. I feel it in other people that I'm walking past. I see it in the grocery store, in other places, in parking lots. I just feel people are being pushed in some ways to extremes. People are exhausted. People are really at the maximum load they can tolerate of emotional strain and stress. And again, as I've written about and spoken about in my Substack post and the EOLU podcast, I believe that post-pandemic grief that has been unaddressed is part of the problem that we're experiencing right now. I'm not going to go into that here, but you can listen to that other podcast if you want to hear more about that. Nonetheless, all of us are experiencing tension and distress at certain times during our lives right now. And I think it's important to have some ways that we can help ourselves get back on track, because if we spiral off into our emotions, we can become angry and reactive. We might fall into depression or anxiety. And once we're caught up in those emotions, the more negative emotions, and spiraling around in them, we start to lose our creativity and our focus, and it becomes more difficult to find solutions to problems that we're facing, more difficult to just get into a relaxed flow state where things may gradually resolve themselves, or we may find a little moment of joy, or we may discover that our perspective on things is a little bit exaggerated or amplified, and that perhaps it's not as dire as our mind is telling us. But we have to be able to pull ourselves back out of the spiral in order to keep going with our day, in order to stay productive and to stay just comfortable and regulated in our nervous system. So again, we all probably have spiritual practices that we utilize in some way or another for our long-term growth. At least we need those practices. It's really important because we have to be able to set aside some time in our lives for stillness and contemplation, and that's how we actually conduct our inward journey and look within. But again, those are long-term tools that are going to help us over time. What I'm talking about today is just a very simple, very quick little reset tool to use in the moment, maybe even before you start to spiral out with your emotions, to pause for a second and use this ritual. So again, there are 5 components to it, but they all stand alone. You could use any one of these by themselves, and it would also be helpful. But together, they're really powerful. So I'm going to start, and I'll go through these one by one, this 5-step ritual. The very first step is to place your hand on your heart. This sounds so simple, it seems ridiculous. But in fact, some researchers believe that the very act of putting your hand on your heart helps release oxytocin in the body. And oxytocin has been called the love hormone. And it actually helps you feel more relational, more open to others, more compassionate when oxytocin is flooding through the body. And if you think about the power of it, The heart has its own electromagnetic field. And when you put your hand on your heart, it's almost as if you can feel the warmth and the energy and the pulsing of your heart, which is beating for you in every second. It's really powerful. And your hand, in turn, almost caresses and embraces the heart and helps you feel held and contained and safe in a certain way. And one of the powerful things I found in hospice work when sitting with someone who was very close to dying is the very simple act of taking their hand, placing their own hand on their chest over their heart, and maybe leaving my hand resting very lightly on top, and allowing them to simply connect with their own heart for just that moment. And it's very powerful, a really beautiful act of love. I've also encouraged family members to do that, sometimes to do it with one another, place a hand on each other's heart, or do it with their loved one who is dying. And so again, that simple act alone, if you try it right now while we're sitting here, just put your hand on your heart, you may feel a slight sense of calm coming over your body. There's something very safe and nourishing for the nervous system just by putting a hand over your heart. The next step is something I often recommend all the time and use myself as a tool all the time, which is taking a deep breath with a prolonged exhalation. And it's important that you exhale longer than the inhale. So maybe breathe in for a count of 5 and out for a count of 7. Because when you prolong the exhale, it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the part of our nervous system that controls the relaxation response, as opposed to the sympathetic nervous system, which controls the fight or flight reaction. So once we activate the parasympathetic nervous system, we are much more likely to feel relaxation in the body. And again, taking a couple of deep breaths, breathing in for 5 counts, out for 7, can make a huge difference. It grounds us, it brings us into the present moment as well, and then activates the parasympathetic nervous system. And so the third step, this is something that was new to me, but I read about in a research article that I thought was really fascinating, which was the benefits of looking up. And I'm talking about gazing upward at the sky, at a ceiling, at whatever is above you, at the clouds, maybe at a tree, the canopy of a tree up above, or watching birds fly overhead. But the act of looking up and drawing our eyes in an upward gaze, neuroscience researchers are saying activates a second visual system in the brain. That we have 2 different visual systems, one that seems to operate when we're looking at horizon level and below, which helps us focus on smaller details and smaller things. It's involved in our immediate safety to make sure we're watching where we're walking and looking at everything around us. But this secondary visual system is actually designed to help us take in a bigger picture. And think about that. Oftentimes, that's what we need to help us refocus, is to see the bigger picture. And just by gazing upward, we seem to be activating that part of our visual system that can help us take in more details, the breadth and the depth, and to not focus as deeply on small details, but to see the bigger picture. And it is one of the ways that we experience awe, is by looking above us at, say the Milky Way or the stars or the moon, and recognizing like, oh, I'm just here. I'm this tiny being within this vast universe. It changes our perspective in our thinking. And it activates the secondary visual system, which itself probably has some soothing properties. They're wondering if it may also release dopamine and serotonin, which can help us during those moments of awe to also feel more relaxed, to feel more potential for joy in those moments. Again, simply by gazing upward. I had not heard about that before until I read the article, but I find myself often intentionally kind of looking up from time to time when I'm outside. Even in the house, I gaze up at the ceiling and study it for a moment, just to be using that upward gaze of the secondary visual system. And I think it's really fascinating, but it's such a simple thing, but it can help us in some ways get out of our obsession and focus on tiny details and the small things of life, and remember, oh, wait, there's something so much more here. Something else is happening right now in this moment that is beyond the details of what I'm worrying about right now. All right, so that's step number 3. Then step number 4 is to say aloud or silently this phrase, right now, I'm okay. And I really love this. Again, it brings us into the present moment immediately by saying, well, right now, look where I am right now. My head is full of all these worries about what's going to happen tomorrow or next week, but here I am. I'm here. I'm right now in this place, inside this body, in this place, and this is what's happening around me, and I'm actually okay. Now, it's possible you'll be in a situation where you're not okay, and this doesn't work if that's the case. It's only when we're caught up in our minds worrying about something that hasn't happened yet or regretting something from the past, and we need to bring our attention into the present moment. And we need to honestly know that we are okay in this moment where I am right now. I have a roof over my head. I'm safe. I just ate. I am not in danger. I'm okay. It's all right now for this moment. No matter what else is going to happen or could happen, I'm okay right now in this place. So again, this is all about creating a sense of safety in the present moment and bringing your thoughts right into this moment by saying, right now, I'm okay. And then the 5th step and the final step is to intentionally think of one thing that you're grateful for in the moment. Now, it might just be that, oh, you're grateful for the breath you just took, or you're grateful for the sky you just looked at. That's fine. The whole point of it is simply to acknowledge that there are amazing things in this world and this life, and no matter how challenging things are, there is always something to be found to be grateful for. And this attitude of gratitude is so very important. Scientists are telling us over and over how powerful it is, how it can affect all of our physical health as well as our mental and emotional health, to be able to get into a state of gratitude. So this is just a mini little practice of naming one thing in this moment that you can be grateful for. So I will revisit these 5 things, but when you combine them all together and think about it, it's a tremendous reset for the nervous system, a reconnection with the heart, a refocus on the present moment, and remembering your strength and that you can get through whatever is happening for you. You're activating all of these positive things within yourself. So I'll name them again, and then maybe we will go through it one time together. The 5 steps are: first, place your hand on your heart. Then take a deep breath with a long exhale. Then gaze upward. Then say aloud or silently, right now, I'm okay. And then think of one thing that you're grateful for. So let's try it right now. We can do it together. So first, just place your hand on your heart. and let it rest there. You can even press a tiny bit, just slightly if you want to press in so that you can really feel that your hand is there. Your chest wall can feel it and your hand can perceive the beating of your heart. And now we'll take a deep breath with a long exhale. So with me, breathe in and breathe out. And now you can continue to take deep breaths while you gaze upward wherever you are, whether it's a ceiling, a sky, a tree, whatever you're able to look at. Gaze upward and allow your eyes to take this bigger, broader, deeper focus. And next, say with me, repeat after me, right now, I'm okay. And next, just pause for a second and think of and name one thing that you're grateful for in this moment. And so that is it. That's it for this 5-step reset ritual. It's so easy. Literally, you can do it almost anywhere. You could be walking down the sidewalk and just stop for a second. You could be sitting at your desk. You could be trying to fall asleep at night. It may be harder to do the upward gaze, but you can look up at your ceiling from your bed, even if it's dark. You can do it anywhere. If you're driving, I caution you, unless you're stopped at a stoplight and you can briefly gaze up, that's make sure you're safe and you're doing it in a place in a way where you won't endanger yourself. But it could also be, if you're scrolling through social media and you see a news report that's very disturbing and upsetting, pause for just a second and do the reset to help you get your emotions centered once again. And maybe you're waiting at the doctor's office for a medical appointment that's frightening to you. You could do it there. You're waiting at the bank and you're frustrated about something, or you're getting ready to talk to someone about a difficult topic that you're scared to bring up with them. You can do this little reset ritual. So it's amazing that sometimes the tiniest things can make the biggest difference for us. And that's what I've found. As I said, any one of these 5 little practices, you can use any component anytime, anywhere by itself, and it will make a difference. But there's some power in bundling them together and doing all 5 at once. That's what I've been finding. So again, it's not going to solve the problems of the world, but I'm hoping that it will give you a chance to just pull back and return to yourself and remember your heart and get you out of a spiral into negativity. And I hope that it will become a practice that you'll find useful and helpful and you'll enjoy. If it turns out that you are on my Patreon plan and that you are one of the soul supporters on Patreon on that particular tier, I'm uploading just a quick short little PDF of this ritual there that you can download, and you could cut it out and put it in your wallet if you wanted to keep it on hand until you have it ingrained or memorized. But otherwise, you're welcome to use it. I hope you find it helpful, and I will be back next week with another topic for you. Thank you once again for all of your support and your caring. And you can go to my website, eoluniversity.com, if you'd like to find out about my books, my podcasts, and also how to offer support there to help keep this show going. And hopefully we'll still be together years from now, coming together in these episodes. So until the next time, remember that we're here for love. So face your fear, be ready for whatever life brings you next, and just love each and every moment that you have a chance to be here breathing and alive on this very beautiful planet. Bye-bye.